Welcome to Women of a Certain Stage, the podcast redefining how we think about menopause. I'm your host, Lauren Turin, a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma and empowering individuals to navigate this transformational stage of life with confidence and clarity. Here, we're diving into a new era of menopause support, featuring expert advice, real-life stories, and actionable insights. Whether you're curious about building your personal menopause plan or you're looking to make an impact, you're in the right place. Let's embrace the change together. Jayne, tell me, whereabouts in the world do you live?
I actually live in Warrington in Cheshire, so right between Liverpool and Manchester. So like the best bits of the Northwest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it a little bit because I studied in Manchester. So yeah, I've done that kind of journey back and forth in Manchester to Liverpool, Manchester to Leeds, kind of like, jotting back and forth between the two.
Yeah. Well, the friendly people are up north in the UK.
Yeah. So I would agree. And even further north as well, of course.
Absolutely.
So I'm really curious, did you get as much rain in Warrington as we get in Manchester?
Yes. Yeah, sadly we do. And we get the wind from the sort of the coast as well, being not so far from Liverpool. So yeah, we do. It does rain a lot. My American colleagues will tell you that we are always complaining about the weather.
Really? Oh, that's so funny. It's such a British thing, isn't it, to talk about the weather? But we're really affected by it.
Yeah, mood-wise, definitely. I mean, it's beautiful today. It's cold, but the sun's outside. So you just want to go for a walk, don't you? Just makes you want to be active. But the rain it's like, oh, let's stay home,
I know.
And keep warm. So yeah, it definitely affects the mood, I think.
I know. I just spent the week in Glasgow with my family and it was beautiful. It was really lovely. Everything's very green and very lush. The springtime, summer, it's all very gorgeous. But it was bitterly cold and Mum and Dad were like, they're a bit older now and they're like, oh, do you think you would consider moving back up here? And I'm like, no. I love you dearly. I will visit often. But it's like 8 to 10 degrees warmer down in Bristol than it is up in Glasgow. And that's a big difference all year round. It's a massive difference.
Definitely. Yeah, it is. It does make a difference. That's why I think we have to be quite smiley in the Northwest because we're trying to offset that miserable rain, grey. We have some up in here.
I wonder how that affects people going through menopause. I wonder if the weather makes our menopause worse.
Yeah, I've talked with my friend quite a lot about it lately, and the coaching that I've been doing, because I've still been working with a lot of practice for it, because I feel like I want to just be a lot more confident in myself. And we have talked especially around movement, which obviously we talk a lot about, don't we, in the course. And just that now that the lights are, the evenings are lighter, the mornings are brighter, that willingness to get up and get out of bed, go and do something. And obviously women, particularly, we don't always like to walk alone in the dark.
No.
It depends where you live, street lighting, how safe it may be, even access to somewhere nice to walk. But so when the sun comes out, even if you're just walking around your local housing estate or up to the local shop, you just want to do it. Where when it's raining and grey, we can make a million excuses not to take that movement that we really need.
Yeah, I noticed actually I started boxing back in the beginning of 2026 and I have a private lesson once a week. I'm very fortunate and very lucky that I can do that. And I've done that in lieu of a bunch of other things that I kept on committing to but never quite did. And the gym I go to is the opposite side of Bristol to where I live. And the beautiful thing about it is you go in and you just have your lesson and then you get in the car and you drive away. But the other week I turned up half an hour early. I don't know why, but I just had this thing in my head. I keep getting my times wrong at the moment for everything. And I turned up early and I was just messaging my instructor going, have I got the wrong time? And as I sent the message, I realised I had got the wrong time. I was like, oh, don't worry. I'll see you at past. I'm just going to go for a run. And it was a lovely, light, bright morning. And it was such a pleasure to go for a run. But it's an area that I don't know. And I'm not sure it's the sort of area I would have gone out for a run on my own. I'd probably have just sat in the car instead of hanging around in an area that I didn't know. So you're right. I think that, especially when our confidence can take quite a knock and we're second guessing things going on around us, that the way we perceive the world around us can really change when we're going through menopause. So yeah. Now I noticed before we sat down that you have on a lovely sweatshirt with Menopause Coach on the back. I love it.
I had this made. It was as close to I could get to your colour because I'm a big fan of blue. But yeah, I've been going out doing some practice coaching with particularly a woman that I used to work with, and it's been amazing. The transformation has been, it's so joyful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've been wearing it, and in the supermarket, people have stopped me. So I have a mental health one as well because I'm a mental health first aider. But I've worn this, and a lot of people have stopped me and said, like, what does that mean? So what does a menopause coach do? And people have been like, oh, that's really interesting. I've seen men look as if to say, not seen that before. And it has opened up some really good conversations, especially in my local Sainsbury's. I think I'm now known Mrs. Menopause.
I love it. I love it. And, it's really interesting, isn't it? There's something about marketing ourselves that often we can be a little bit backward in coming forward. And I should probably make them available for everyone. I have like little zip up hoodies with Menopause Coach in the back and my logo in the front. So maybe there's a lesson in there for me as well.
Yeah.
But again, you're right. When I wear it to the gym, which is a bit naughty, but there's no business name on it because we're not allowed to advertise your business in the gym, but there's nothing saying women of a certain stage on it. So off I go to the gym and it brings up conversations. So maybe there's something in that we should all be walking around with Menopause Coach up our arm or across our back or somewhere, just letting people know what we do. So I love that. I'm really excited that you're doing that.
Yeah, because there's no branding on this. There's no business like you. It's just a Menopause Coach on the back. And it is just people, you can see people looking, then a few people have questioned. And it's good to see that men have been like, oh, that's different. And even this morning, we're having some fencing done at the back of the house. And the guys, and I said, you're not going to do that bit, are you? I'm going to record, I'm a guest on a podcast. And they were like, oh, can we come? And I said, if you want to talk about menopause, you're more than welcome. They were like,
so how did you end up becoming a menopause coach? What was that all about?
Well, I've always been passionate about it. I did the champion course with you a few years ago now. Maybe 3.5 years ago, maybe even coming up for 4. And obviously, so my story is that I had a hysterectomy just weeks after my 40th birthday, so then plunged quite quickly into surgical menopause. I was very fortunate that I had my surgery privately with an amazing doctor who just mentioned to me on discharge, so you'll go through the menopause within 6 months. You might not feel that great. You might have some hot flushes and, you might feel a bit snappy. That was it. No real explanation of what menopause was. And remember, I was just 40. One of my best friends was having IVF, hoping to start a family. People around me were having children still. And that area, for that whole bit of my world was over. And I was very fortunate to already have 2 children. But there was no support. Even though I'd gone privately, you would expect you would get this. But it wasn't. It was just like, off you go. You're not in pain anymore. I was alive. It was all amazing. But there was just...
You were alive. You were alive. We're saying this on the night of doctor strikes in the UK. We're having this conversation, and I have to go in for a procedure myself tomorrow, which I'll talk about another time. But I've always fought in the corner of the doctor strikes. Sorry to jump in. I've always fought in the corner of the doctor strikes because I really think the way our medics are paid in this country is abominable. But now that I'm someone who is dependent on a quite important procedure in the very near future, I'm now sitting with feet in 2 camps going, I don't want the doctors going to strike because I've waited for this and it's a really important procedure. On the other hand, I really want them to be so well paid they don't feel they have to go out and strike. And it's, we're so fortunate to have a National Health Service, and yet you've went privately for your hysterectomy. And I wonder if you had gone on the NHS, whether it would have made any difference, whether anyone would have mentioned menopause to you.
Well, I don't think they would, Lauren, because in the run-up to it, I was back in 2 for years. I struggled massively with adenomyosis and ended up becoming really quite poorly. So my surgery was, probably did save my life, really.
Yeah.
And it made a massive difference to my quality of life. When the symptoms did start to kick in, I went to my GP, and I was really, really fortunate in that one conversation. My GP was exactly the same age as me, but was pregnant with her first child. So she had so much empathy that we were the same age, left school at the same time. And here was I going through this, and she was pregnant with her first child. And she was exceptional. She's the only NHS doctor in the 11 years I've been going through this who has been supportive, who has been kind. The rest have been appalling. And I'm saying that in as diplomatically as I can on this podcast because I could rant for England. But, but she didn't know that much. She was had a huge amount of empathy, but she had to get her books out. I was trying to educate her, and there wasn't as much information available then as there is now. So it was a minefield for me. And it only really came to a head for me, and this probably will resonate with you, with your experiences, that my daughter came home from uni and came home specifically to see me because she wanted me to see the doctor because she thought I had a brain tumour. My memory had got so bad, but no one told me about brain fog or memory. They just told me I'd be hot and grumpy. And expecting all of these other symptoms that came along with it. And she was so worried about me because my personality changed so much and just we couldn't understand it. So yeah, I think we're making huge progress and there's so much more. There's much information out there. But I do think without that NHS support, there's a lot of misinformation. I think we talked about this in the training, your experts were just amazing. Now, if you were just someone going through this and you go onto some of their Facebook groups, for example, you could get so confused and really quite depressed. I mean, I'm really fortunate to have had children and that was something that I really desperately wanted. And for those of us that made that choice and were fortunate enough, you always have that thing, didn't you, where when you're pregnant, someone will tell you their childbirth nightmare. I think menopause is becoming like that. Women are scaring other women. And that's where coaches, I think we come into our own here because everyone's journey is different, just like pregnancy and childbirth. Menopause is very individual, isn't it? And I think we don't need to scare one another. We just need to support one another.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because I've been asked to be an expert in many Facebook groups or similar types of groups and other social medias as well. And I've always said no, because I'm not a medic. I'm not going to dispense advice to anybody because as a coach, that's not my job. And as a trainer, as an educator, that's not my job either. I'm not there to advise anyone. And I know in my own Facebook group, when people come in and it's explicit that the Menopause Social Hangout is there for people who want to help other people through menopause, it's not about what my personal experience was, what did I take, how did I manage, it's how do we professionally support other people through menopause. So when anyone comes into the group and they sign the rules post that says, we're not here to sell or entice to sell or, tell people what to do, and then people blatantly come on and then they type in going, oh, I've had this experience, I want to know. And then, people are jumping on and like immediately delete because it's not, if they're not medically trained or they've not got that expertise, I then have to go and double check whether what they're saying is right or wrong. I have to find out where their sources were. I have to get them to declare that. And I just think that is damaging and dangerous. So I completely concur with what you're saying. So I'm very strict in my Facebook group about not letting anyone start to dispense advice at all, because I just don't think that's the place for it. And going back to your point, I've got so many thoughts going in my head listening to you. Women's health has been poorly researched, and the doctors we went to while we were going through a menopause experience were not routinely trained in menopause, and most of the doctors are not routinely trained in menopause yet. The doctors that started in September 2024 will have training in women's health as a routine of their medical training. But I think that we have had such poor experiences from our doctors. I spoke to someone yesterday who suffered with endometriosis from their teens in an extremely bad way. And adenomyosis is not any better. Fibroids, not any better. PMDD, not any better. Just so many severe, serious menstrual health issues that have been poorly understood. Women have been told to get out there and get on with it, to shut up and put up. And we didn't grow up questioning our doctors. We grew up just taking on board what they said, believing what they said. And that impact on our self-esteem, our confidence, our ability to challenge, our ability to get to the root cause of whatever our challenges and problems were with our health. Absolutely shocking in 2026 to think that we've gone through all of that.
I think the other scary thing is when we put everything down to menopause, and I know you have genuinely thought about this before, lots of things, but not everything is. So you do need to be checking in with your GP regularly, but you need that relationship, don't you, with your GP, where you can go and think, I think this may be menopause, but I just want to be sure. Because there are lots of other, thyroid issues, for example. There's various things that, I'm not medically trained by any stretch of the imagination. But, certain things where joint pain, is it menopausal symptoms? Could it be help with HRT? Or actually, is it something more serious that needs a completely different, medical view on it? But you need that relationship with your GP. They need to be accessible and, informed and have the empathy. Because, one of the things that I've been very fortunate that I don't suffer with anxiety that a lot of women do. Driving at night, yeah, definitely. But other areas, I'm pretty good. But when you start to really have that anxiety, and I've watched a lot of my friends and colleagues go through it, then you really are on the back foot going to your GP because they're not listening to you. And maybe you can't articulate yourself in the way that you want to because your brain's a little bit fried. You're tired.
Yeah.
And you don't quite understand yourself. You need someone who's going to give you the time, don't you, to just sit and listen. Like we do with coaches, we listen and we get them to reflect. You almost want your GP to have those skills as well.
And that's where us partnering with GPs is so vital and so important because we have the time as coaches and we have the opportunity to give people, whether it's in a group or one-to-one. Do you prefer one-to-one coaching or do you think group coaching might be your thing? Where do you think you're going to go with it?
I think group coaching long term, I think I'm sort of harnessing my skills now and being able to, and all my practice clients are very different, which has been amazing for me.
Tell me about them.
Yeah, so actually, I've 4 all in total so far, and they've all actually been colleagues or work colleagues, but not people that I work so closely with that it would have been comfortable for them. So it's been a perfect mix. But there's one, I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, and we worked together up until last year. She's just 60 and left our business and then had a real crisis of confidence. She was very late to menopause. So she was still experiencing a lot of symptoms, but hasn't really recognised that they were related to menopause. And we've just done some coaching. It was funny, I saw her last week for the end of our formal sort of 8 weeks. And I turned up with flowers to say, I'm so proud of you. And she gave me flowers to say, thank you.
That's so gorgeous.
And she looks like a completely different woman in just that she just seems lighter. She's smiling, getting back out into the workplace and walking a lot more, doing a lot more movement and reaching out to her friends. I did the Wheel of Life with her in particular, which was amazing. And getting her to link the weaker areas of that Wheel of Life and how she can link, there was 3 particular areas that were quite low, but they all played into one another. And getting her to see that and how she can help herself to raise the numbers from 5 to 8, for example. She was like, oh, wow, I never would have thought of that. I didn't consider that. And then, I'm working with someone who's just 40 and is the start of the perimenopause. GP being a little bit dismissive, you're too young. Found out that her mum was very young in with her menopause, and just she's got teenagers, and we know teenagers and menopausal women. It can be. And also, one of the interesting things with one of my male colleagues is he has a perimenopausal wife and a teenage daughter who are literally wanting to kill each other.
Sorry, so I laugh.
No, I know. And I'm helping. He said they're literally outside his office door screaming at each other. So I've been helping him to how to talk to his wife in a way that she doesn't feel patronised, which sounds harsh, that doesn't it? But, when we take the daughter out of the situation, go and calm yourself down to the wife, we both know that's a red rag chewable. So, how can he support his wife and his daughter? And in a respectful way, because he's a lovely, lovely human, absolutely divine man, so supportive, but he's never done this before. He doesn't know the rights or wrongs to do. So everyone's been really different, but just seeing someone's confidence grow, it's amazing. It's such a privilege. It really is a privilege just to see the change in somebody. And I always remember what you said to us at the beginning of our training. Be the coach that you would have liked to have had, that you maybe needed. And I didn't have anyone back then. And I always remember you saying that to us because it really resonated with me.
Yeah, it's such an important thing, isn't it? I mean, we do have to adapt and morph as we build rapport with our clients. Everyone needs something slightly different from us. But I think that is such a powerful reminder that, especially for those of us that have had a really tricky journey going through menopause, because not everyone, I train men, I train people who are not menopausal yet, I train all sorts of people So it's not just people that have been through menopause. The majority of people that become menopause coaches have had some form of challenge with their own journey going through menopause. So I think it is important. And just filling that void, because that's where this all came from, came from the fact that I didn't have anyone, and I created something that I wish I'd had back then. Sorry, that's quite emotional because it takes me right back to the very roots of why I created this. You've got a good memory. You've got a good memory. Wow. It's really funny having things quoted back to me. So why did you train with women of a certain stage? What was it about that program versus anything else that's on the market that got your attention?
Well, obviously, we'd already met and I'd done my champion training with you. And then obviously followed you on LinkedIn for years and done some of your little webinars, which were always really interesting. And then I'm one of those people that I really consider things for a long time before I make the jump. And especially when it's a financial investment. These things that you see all the time. And I have to really stop myself getting on my soapbox here. When I see, qualify as a menopause coach for £27 and, 6 hours of videos to watch, and it really makes me cross because there's so much more to all than that. And that was the thing with you, knowing how passionate you are, how professional you are, the experts that you were bringing into the training, which it is just unrivaled from what I can tell from any other training provider. And just the sense of, being part of a cohort of women, very different to me, but all with the same sort of passion around women's health and support. But there's so many. I think I put it in one of our WhatsApp group one day saying, "Oh, is anyone else really irritated by these adverts that keep flashing up? £27." And I even got on my soapbox yesterday because someone asked me about it in the pub. I'm like, "Oh, did you do one of those little courses?" I was like, "No, I did not do one of those little courses. I did a very comprehensive 18-week plus, training." With experts. And I think that makes the difference. I didn't want to go in this it's not a tick box for me. It was something that I'm deeply passionate about. And therefore I needed that education. I thought I knew quite a lot. I learned an outstanding amount. Not just from the professionals that you brought into the course, but my cohort too. The different lived experience. Oh, they were amazing. And culturally, it was amazing to hear about everyone else's experiences and countries that you expected to be really up there are actually quite shocking. That surprised me, Lauren. Really did. I was surprised by some of the European countries, how behind they are.
You had every cohort is amazing, but you had a really dynamic cohort, and I think one of the things I love to do is bring you all together so that you are supporting each other. There's no dependency on us, my team or me going forward. We're there to support you always for, that's a given, but that you become self-sustaining going forward, because that's something I think is so important, to develop that ability and also get your curiosity to naturally roll forwards and support each other. I see in too many courses that I've done in the past, it's kind of like, you've done the qualification, it's like, okay, see ya, bye. And you don't have anyone to lean on, you don't have anywhere to go for resources, and I wanted to make sure that everyone had that going forward. But you're doing this alongside a day job. So how are you juggling it all? And tell me about your day-to-day work as opposed to your menopause coach work, because it's quite different.
Yeah, it is. I'm actually an executive business partner for a very large corporate sort of tech company. So I've always worked with tech and engineering teams. And, I've worked with the same CEO 4 times over the years, and I was always good cop to his bad cop. So I've always been a real people person. Always worked. I love working with the teams, just love being in the mix with people. So when I came into the role that I'm in now almost 5 years ago, it was, that sounded awful. It was a step back from what I'd done before, but it was back working with a team who've just become the most amazing. I adore them. They're an amazing team to work with. And the leader at the time really brought me in to help define the culture of well-being, of people feeling supported. Because, tech is a very high pressure. There's a lot of expectations, a lot of big deadlines. And we did some really cool things. And then we started to talk about our authentic selves at work. And then I was open and said, you know what, actually, I'm a bit of a hypocrite here, because I talk about this and coach this a lot, but I'm not my true self, because I'm menopausal and I never talk about it. And it was the first time I'd ever used the word at work. And then we did what we call a huddle. And I did a talk about menopause and my journey. And people cried. There was a lot of emotion. And men came, some of the male team members said, wow, I'm going to go home and give my wife a hug. This was so educational, and it was the first time, but it felt like a massive weight off my shoulders. And it let everyone else say, well, actually, I'm ADHD or, I'm dyslexic. And it just opened more conversations. So part of my role now, I do a lot of workplace coaching, really. So, and I'm very open. So one of the things in your resources, which again was amazing about your course content, there's a lot of stuff in there around menopause and ADHD, for example, and lots of different things in there. And that's been really interesting in the workplace, supporting some colleagues with ADHD and how their symptoms have become really heightened, or that's how it feels to them at this stage of their lives. So the menopause coaching really does help me at work, because I can help support my male team members, because one of the things I've always said is menopause is not a workplace problem. It's not a women's problem. It's part of our lives, but we do need our workplaces to be understanding. We need the policies in place. I can't wait for next year when we have to have the menopause action plans in place. I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah.
But, work is important to all of us, and especially those of us that are quite career-minded. Yeah. But we need that support at work. And my male colleagues as line managers, they need to be able to understand it to manage their teams, to get the best out of them. And we don't want women leaving work at 50 and 55 because it just got too tough because of our symptoms. I think this is the best chapter of me professionally. I think this is the best version of me as a human, if I'm honest with you. And that's because I've been lucky enough to have some great leaders that I've worked with that have been incredibly supportive. So I want to, help coach the next wave of leaders. I want to be part of that sort of movement almost in the workplace, that it's okay to talk about menopause along with any other, life thing that we have.
Yeah.
It's just another thing that we do. It's just part of who we are. And it's not the end of all. Me, for example, my kids are grown up now. I can travel wherever I want. I can work as late as I like.
Yeah.
I can study as well as work full time, because that chapter of bringing my kids up, it's a lot easier now. So is this the end for me because I'm 51 and menopausal?
So you did. So were you self-funding for the champion, or did work support that? You were self-funding.
Work supported the champion, but
but you self-funding for coaching.
Yeah,
but they're now going to reap the benefits.
Yes, that's the thing. I know. And hopefully, maybe I'll get rewarded in another way someday. But I just think it's. I watch my friends now getting to this stage in their lives, and chat to them about how does their workplace support them, and the amount of people who do come to me now and say, like, and it's one thing I'd not considered in a professional organisation. If you have to wear a uniform to work, for example, you worked in McDonald's, that uniform is quite restrictive. You're in potentially a hot kitchen or in and out of a kitchen, and so if your symptoms are around, your hot flashes, for example. You are allowed to ask for some alterations to your uniform. It is okay to ask that.
And McDonald's is one of my clients, so there you go.
We've
had some very interesting conversations around uniform, and I've worked with head office, and obviously you're dealing with franchisees and franchisors, and there's all sorts of other things in the mix there. But uniforms, army, navy, police, frontline firefighters. There's some dreadful stories I could tell you about, paramedics and their greens and bleeding through their greens and not being allowed to change. All sorts of stories. But so tell me, what do you see the difference? And they're vastly different. I know the difference, but just for anyone listening, what do you see the difference between the Menopause Champion program and the Menopause Coach program?
Oh, completely different. I would say when thinking of myself as a menopause champion, it was just I had a basic understanding, maybe a passion around it, lived experience that. I just felt like I could be a safe space for someone to have a chat to. Yeah. No more than that. Now that as a coach, I do feel that I am qualified and I've got the skills, which I'm still working on. I'm still practicing all of the time. I I feel like I can genuinely help. I'm not just a listening ear. I can help coach people to, you know, relook at what's happening to them. You know, we talk about one of the things I love in the framework is decluttering, because I'm a real simple, tidy person, but not just in a physical sense, as we talked about, you know, clearing out emails so you don't wake up on a Sunday to 56 spam emails, which just instantly think, oh, it's something else for me to do. You know, and it was, you know, the movement. This will make you laugh. I had a couple of glasses of wine in the pub yesterday, Easter Monday, by the way, just for people. I don't do that every day. And I was chatting to one of the guys in the pub, and he was asking me about what I'm doing. And then I was talking about movement and the importance and what I've been learning as well, because I'm studying nutrition alongside it for another personal interest. But just about balance. You know, being able to stand on one leg for 40 seconds and then do a lateral sort of movement to help you, because you don't necessarily fall front or backwards with age. You can fall to the side. So when I'm doing this movement, my husband was just like, what are you doing? But I feel now as a coach, I just feel that I have those skills. Like I have that, and the cohort lived experience of it. If I haven't had it, I feel like one of my cohort did. And I might be able to reference or go back into our WhatsApp, and one of the ladies might have commented, and I think, we were always sharing links. You know, I think it's Claire in particular doing things around social media support for us all, for those that are running a business. All those little things that if someone asks me now, if I don't know, I have the resources from your platform. I can go to my cohort. I can come to you and your team. Yeah. So I just feel like, I just feel like an actual coach. Like a real life coach.
You are. And I think, anyone listening, like we're always practicing. I've been coaching for decades, but I'm still practicing. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still developing. It doesn't stop. But it's not like here's the beginning of the journey and there's the end of the journey. I think we're always developing, growing as we get older. And the other commonality with most of my cohorts, especially with yours, is that we have lifelong learners on there. People that are naturally curious, that want to learn, that want to grow and want to develop. And that's one of the reasons I do the one-to-one calls, before we go on, because there's no similarity in people's backgrounds or work experience or educational background, because we have nurses, doctors, corporate leaders, we have personal trainers, yogis, we've got stay-at-home mums. But the common passion is everyone's a lifelong learner. Everyone's curious. Everyone wants to help support other people. And that's where the bond is. And I think it's really interesting, because that impacts your marketing then. Because the way you market, I'm not marketing to HR, I'm not marketing to PTs, I'm marketing to a type of individual rather than to a specific role type. And when you think about how you're going to take this going forward, what's the type of individual that you want to help and support?
I suppose skill sets not above others, but one of my things, I've worked in a predominantly male environment pretty much all of my career. So I'm really comfortable talking to men about menopause, which I know might not be for every coach. But I understand the importance of line management training, of line managers also, and it's okay for them to come and ask for some support. They don't have to know everything, and they certainly don't have to feel like they've got all the answers. And also for men is you can't really, you can say the wrong thing, don't get me wrong, but on the whole, if you just listen to a woman who may be suffering with some perimenopausal, menopausal symptoms, just listen to her. Just tell her that there's an open door there. So I think that's my sort of corporate version. I really want to do stuff in my community. I saw something this morning that I'm going to volunteer for to go give a little talk. But I think workplace coaching is definitely my sweet spot, because that's what I know. That's an environment that I'm used to. But I do just think making sure that our male allies feel confident that they can support the women around them, whether that is at home and at work. And I always say this, my husband's younger than me. So when I was going through, my surgical menopause at the beginning, he was still in his 30s.
Yeah.
None of his friends, no one ever asked him how he felt about it.
Yeah.
No one asked him if he understood it. So there was an impact on him, and then therefore an impact on him at work. Because when home life's pretty hard, because your wife's just changed into a completely different person for a few months until, you get your symptoms under control. No one really checked in on him. So I'm really passionate about checking in on my male colleague and the men around me. They're like, how are you doing? You know, do you need anything? How can I support you to support the women in your life? I think that's important to me.
And I love the way you position that as well, because often when I see corporate training companies, they talk about line management training, and it's about training their line managers or their male staff to become menopause experts. And we don't need anyone to be a menopause expert. We need people to listen, to be empathic, and to just be open to the conversation, to be able to signpost confidently. It's almost like being the champion training, right? It's almost like being a champion. It's being interested enough, empathic enough, knowing how to listen, and being able to effectively signpost somebody to the right help and support. It's not about understanding the 34 symptoms or 200 symptoms of menopause. It's not about knowing what to do in any given situation, because every situation is different and there isn't a one right answer for anything. It's just about being that human being. I love the way you're positioning that. I think that's so important.
Yeah, and what a manager actually recently said to someone, oh, yeah, I know a little bit about this. What you need to do is just eat lots of protein. Eat lots of protein, all your symptoms will go away. I was like, oh, no. He meant well.
Well, protein's a good start. Protein's a good start.
If it's just the way to... But that's a great start. At least he had that empathy. He tried to offer some understanding. So I think that's a step in the right direction. The person
just
hearing
protein,
it didn't quite hit home. But the good intention was there, and that's what we need. We don't need lots of experts. We need empathy.
I have got a new exercise for you. So this is a new one I'm trying out. So I'm going to invite you to try this one when you talk about your balance exercises. Okay?
Yeah.
So I was going to bring it up and then I forgot about it, but it's come back into my mind. So hopping on one leg. So let's say you're standing on your right leg and you just hop forward 2 hops. Hop to the right 2 hops. Hop to the left 2 hops. Hop back 2 hops. Hop forward 2 hops. And then put your left foot down, and then see where you felt that on your right side. And just notice which part of you, because that will teach you where neurologically you're maybe not connecting. And it could be anywhere. Like I'm not going to make any suggestions of where you might feel it, because everyone feels it somewhere different. But just notice where that is. And that will help you identify the areas that are maybe could do with a little bit more input, shall we put it that way? And then do it on your left foot. So I wonder what your husband will say about this exercise, right? So left foot, hop forward, hop side, hop back, hop forward, and then see where you feel it on the left side and see if you've got any kind of things going on balance-wise or muscular, or if there's any points in anywhere from your toes to your hips or anywhere else in your body. I'll be interested to hear if you try that out and how that works for you.
I'll be doing that right after this podcast. I'm intrigued now.
Yep. So what are you doing with your nutrition? Tell me more about that.
So I've always been really fascinated with nutrition. I'm one of those people who's got lots of weird intolerances to food and chemical bees and random things. And then my husband's celiac, and he was diagnosed when he was in his 30s. So that was a whole sort of shift. So I've been really intrigued. But I've said this a lot lately, and I probably do sound a bit like a scratch record. If I had the knowledge 11 years ago when I first started on this, surgical menopause journey, I just don't think I'd have struggled as much. And what I mean in that is maybe the physical things, you can't control them all, but just the feeling of isolation and feeling quite lonely. And not also understanding how I could have helped myself more. So I drink a lot of water. I do anyway, so that was thingy. But to understand how hydration really helps you to sleep, I didn't know that. How it helps all your estrogen receptors all over your body, all the amazing little things that we learned. But, how nutrition supports you all of your life, but especially during menopause. Now, I'm not a fan of ultra-processed food at all. Very, very rarely eat anything like that. I haven't eaten a crisp in over 2 years. I'm quite strict about things. But it's been really fascinating just how to really fuel your body at this stage of your life, to nourish it and take care of it alongside the movement. Now, I am no natural sporty person, Lauren. I am not competitive. But I love my Pilates, I walk, I've got little dumbbells in my room here, and every afternoon I go and do a little workout. And I just think if I'd have known this stuff 11 years ago, it would have just been it wouldn't have been easy, but I do believe it would have been easier. And now I'm very much a fan of, nourishing my body so that I age well, that I age strong. Like I want, if I'm lucky enough to have grandchildren one day, I want to be fit and able, get on the floor with them and run around the park, all of those things. And I want to age well for me. Yeah. I want to fuel my body with all the good stuff. So, it is really interesting learning, carbohydrates as well as you age in menopause. You really do need that movement to burn them off. And they're so nice. There's nothing like a piece of toasted butter on and a cup of tea in the morning. But, balancing that with protein, making sure I'm a massive fan of fibre. I really do learn a lot from the Zoe app. I've been really passionate about those kinds of things. So I've actually got to do some case studies as part of my nutrition training. And I'm actually going to use my son as one, who is a 19-year-old who's just stopped boxing. He's like an athlete, always in the gym. And then one of my menopause coaches, clients, she would like to be one of my case studies for my nutrition, because one of the things we've done with her, which has just been amazing, is that, she was an emotional eater like myself. That's one of the things I've had to work on. And she's done some amazing things lately about not buying things in the house so she can't eat them all. Yeah. Going and buying one bagel rather than 5. And you live alone, you'll eat them. Yeah. It's just human nature. So she's really interested to take the coaching to that next level, to keep building upon what we've achieved with the menopause framework. How can we keep that going with everything that we've learned together, and then help her develop, better nutrition so that she ages well.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm tying it all together, and it's just us women just trying to support each other to have, I don't know, be the best that we can be again.
Oh, and are you doing all your work in person, or are you doing anything online? Because it sounds like you're doing a lot in person.
Yes, some in person and some online. So
so combination.
It's a mix, And I'd like to do some community things as well. And in person's a bit more scary, isn't it? Because you're just up in front of people. And
my first ever paid client was in person, and I'd done all my practice either on the phone or online. And that was fascinating, because I remember sitting there with my notepad and my clipboard, and I had all my questions written down because I didn't want to miss anything. And I kept saying, I'm just going to take some notes. And while I was taking notes, I'm reading the next question and going, is that the right question to ask, or do I ask the next one? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try this question. And then I'd pop my head back up and make eye contact and, keep the rapport going, and then jot some questions and some answers down. And it worked. It worked because I just was honest about the fact I was new, and I had my notes there, and I was just making sure I didn't miss anything out for her, to give her the best possible experience. And I know sometimes people feel like they want to be the perfect coach when they go out in front of their practice clients or their first paid clients. And there is no such thing. And I just wish people would just turn up, because whatever they're doing to help somebody is something more than that person would have had. And every bit of human connection is so vital when we go through menopause. I think there's so much isolation and too many people trying to do it alone, which is entirely unnecessary.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I really did listen to you on when we were training, as well as when we do our active listening, and with the framework, which is brilliant. I do flip-flop quite a bit with it with some of my practice clients, because I do try to really listen to what it is they need from me. So if they're feeling quite overwhelmed by the state of the house, for example, and bills piling up just because they've just not got the space after work in their head, I'll spend more time on decluttering, doing routines, for example, spending 5 minutes in the morning, maybe after breakfast, before you start work on some of your life admin. Yeah. And then I'll flip the framework around, because I've really honed in on your thing of actively listening, meeting them where they are. It's not about us as a coach, and it's not about where we want them to end up. It's where they need to be and what they get from it.
You're like the perfect student. I can hear my words. I can hear all my words back in my head. This is there. Are you sure you've not got a script in front of you? This is so funny.
This is why it works, because... And that's what I say when people say, would you choose Lauren? Why would you recommend Lauren's course? Because of these things, I hear your voice in my head.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
And when I doubt myself, you reminded us that, we're all individual coaches, and we were our cohort. A lot of us were very different, weren't we? Yeah. Which is great, because then there'll always be clients for each individual coach, because we don't always quite, match. But all the little things that you said, they resonate because they made sense as well. You didn't just talk about things hypothetically.
No,
You were so much
practical.
Real. It was amazing. And that's why I do hear you.
You can come back anytime. I'm going to have you on all the time. This is great. What else have I not asked you about today that you were hoping to or would like to mention or talk about?
I think one of my things for me is just a reminder that menopause is not about all women. It's not about grumpy old women. That is absolutely not the narrative that we want to be hearing anymore. Perimenopause can start from, even early, mid-30s, younger for some really unfortunate ladies. And it impacts all of your life. And it's not just at home or just at work. It's a fundamental shift in who we are and how we feel in our body. So let's get away from this, old sort of sketch image of women just getting a little bit grumpy and bitter and, all of this. It's a transitional period. It is a change, and it's a bit like, becoming a butterfly, but your wings are a little bit unsteady and you don't quite know what to do with yourself and where you're going to land. But getting the right support, reaching out to people around you, being curious about your own body and what you're going through, advocating for yourself, this can be your best chapter yet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't just say that. I am 51 now. I feel like I'm the nicest version of me. I'm the curviest version of me. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to change that bit. But I think I've got a growth mindset more than I've ever had before. And this course has definitely helped me to build upon that. There are amazing humans out there. Not everything in the world is doom and gloom. And this is a hard time for a lot of women.
Yeah.
But it's not the end. Like,
no.
Try if you can. Get the support. Look at the positives. Who do you want to be now for this next chapter in your life? And it's up to you to really make that happen. Like, we have that power, don't we, within ourselves? If we just look for it and give yourself a break sometime. We don't always have to be perfect,
No such thing as perfection.
No, there isn't. But
we're
keep
rich
smiling.
in skills, knowledge, and so much experience, so much to offer our workplaces, our communities, our families, and ourselves. So it's a time to really step into our power, to boost our vitality, and just get out there and use our voice in a way that we've never done before. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on today, Jayne. I feel as if I could talk to you all day long. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been brilliant. Thank you, Lauren. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining me on Women of a Certain Stage. I hope today's episode inspired you to think differently about menopause and the incredible opportunities this stage of life brings. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with 3 friends who need to hear this message. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us reach even more people. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Lauren Turin, or visit our website at womenofacertainstage.com to learn more about menopause coaching, inspiring events, and corporate training. Until next time, let's continue making a difference, one conversation at a time.